Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Podcast with your hosts, Cheeky Nick, Cheeky JB, and Cardboard Chris, because, you know, we can't do a podcast without him, and he's not with us this evening. It just feels like a big blur, JB. It feels like it's still the evening. We're not playing Call of Duty here. No, it's morning. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are around the world, to be fair. Could be evening. I feel like it's evening. I'm tired. I should just go back to bed, shouldn't I? But anyway, JB, how are you doing today?
What a sensational intro that was, Nick. Congratulations on that one.
What can I say? I balls it up every single time.
So yeah, I'm good. I feel absolutely honoured to be joined by the Cardboard Chris cutout.
You got to, right? You know, you got to have a Cardboard Chris. So Chris, how you doing? Yeah, cool, good. Yeah, it's lost for words. Phenomenal intro, I have to say, if I do say so myself. But no, it's good to be back for another podcast. Good to kind of be discussing the things that have been happening in the space for cryptocurrency. There's a few things that I've kind of skirted across today, this morning, guys, scanning some of these news outlets. Lots of things to think about, JB. But you know, most importantly, Bitcoin reached those levels that were just never going to happen again.
It's absolutely impossible.
It's impossible. It was never going to happen.
The Black Swan event happened overnight.
Yeah, I mean, I found one article that had this really cool title. Oh, that was it. They used a really cool word. Bitcoin plummets below $30,000. I loved it.
Yeah,
plummets. It didn't really plummet. But you know, Bitcoin had a little bit of a pullback. Now, I want to know, JB, did anyone call $28,000? Yeah, JB called $28,000.
Yeah, I'm chuffed.
And I think the community, the cheeky community, are all over that, which is cool. There obviously are pockets of people who really are bullish on the market right now. Maybe they've changed their opinions.
Yes.
Maybe 28K just isn't going to change their opinion at all. What's your thoughts?
Well, we touched on it on Tuesday's podcast, the first of the lives, that we could see the narrative was starting to change online. You know, the bulls, or the FUD spreaders, as I would like to refer to them as, you could see the narrative was starting to change, that was maybe keeping into the back of their mind that maybe this isn't a bull run, that I mean, we've seen great gains so far, let's be honest here. This bear market rally, there has been a good return. But I think the reality of what's actually going on is starting to set in with them, and their narrative is starting to change. We did see the pullback. Obviously, Nick, myself, Festoon, we've all been looking at it, and you know, it has been expected. We see obviously some of the alternative charting that goes on in the Discord as well. That the way that they look at the charts with whatever method that is that they're using, they're also seeing the same thing, that there's a pullback ready to happen. That the market was looking quite exhausted where it was. So I think credit, given where credit is due, that a lot of people were calling for Bitcoin to come back, even though it was never coming back below $30,000. Let's remember that we're sitting right now at $28,872. Yeah, even we see it with Ethereum as well. That was never going to drop back below $2,000. It's at $1,900. So yeah, I think that there's been a lot of wise calls in the Discord. Not just obviously from myself, Nick and Festoon, but a lot of members as well. Some of the methods that they're using were also calling for a drop in the market, and yeah, I'm happy to see it come to fruition.
Yeah, no, it's it's still minor at this point, right? You know, $28,000 is not a big deal. Dropping down from 31 to 28 is not a huge movement. But you know, it's the start of something potentially big, which I talk about on a premiere video going live at 10 a.m. today. In fact, straight after this podcast, you should check that one out, because the structures that are starting to form could mean pretty catastrophic things for BTC. But this video, this live stream, this podcast, JB, is titled $10 million Bitcoin. And $10 million Bitcoin. I mean, why not? We could just add another zero, 2 zeros, add a few more zeros. Why not? It doesn't really matter. It seems to be clickbait, but is there actually something to it? Now, we've seen $1 million Bitcoin recently. We've seen some crazy thoughts of $12 million Bitcoin most recently. What's your thoughts, JB? Do you honestly think there's something behind this, or is this literally just getting those clickety clicks?
Exactly that. Clickety, clickety, click, click, click. The thought of a $10 million Bitcoin, $100 million Bitcoin, it would be fantastic. Your portfolio would look amazing. But on the flip side of that, and I know you guys have covered this before, your physical monetary value would be worth absolutely nothing. There would be no point having Bitcoin at that kind of number. Your dollar would be worth nothing. I know we're on the road there for the dollar to be worth nothing as it is, the way everything's going. So to have a Bitcoin at $10 million, $100 million, it's not something I want to see. I don't think we're going to see it, let's be honest.
I'm not. It doesn't matter to me. Unless we're holding a USD or a USD type stable coin, $10 million Bitcoin, $20 million, $100 million, it doesn't really matter. Because ultimately the other pairs, whether that's GBP or Euro to Bitcoin, they're all going to be hovering around the $28,000, $30,000 Bitcoin number, right? You can have any crazy USD base, but if the USD doesn't hold its value anymore, then what is the point, right? And this kind of brings us on, JB, to Russia, right? And they're looking to allow Bitcoin, Ethereum, and crypto for international trade to decrease dollar dependency.
Yeah, I think we kind of seen this was starting to brew a few weeks back. We'll say that. I think we spoke about it before. So I think obviously the powers that be and the issues that are going on right now, they are all moving away from the dollar. Basically the way they're trading, they're not wanting to use dollar, which is I understand why it is they're doing what they're doing. It's politics, and I don't think we're going to dive into politics today. But, yeah, so their mission is to obviously destroy the dollar. It's working. For them to move everything into Bitcoin is as nasty as it is. I understand everything that's going on there. It's, to me, a good thing to see that the use case for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies is moving into real world, that it's going to be super hyper important for major trades in the world. So the ones that obviously are coming to mind right now is you're talking like Russia and let's just say Saudi Arabia. There's going to be mega transfers of money, payments. If that's being used on Bitcoin, on blockchain, then that's blockchain technology coming to the forefront of like global money. We're going to see mass adoption, and it's going to be used. There's a caveat to that. I'll come to that. If it's getting used between these big players and it's big money, it's getting moved around, then you can see the price of cryptocurrencies, I think, is going to absolutely skyrocket. The caveat to that is there's going to be a lot of dirty money being laundered, and because it's decentralized, I think it's going to be easier. I think it's already happening. In fact, we know it's already happening, that money is being washed through cryptocurrency. But I think you're going to obviously see it more if obviously these big institutions start to use it more frequently. I'm trying to be very particularly well worded out there, so it's not offending anyone.
Now, obviously, with Russia's move to potentially, and I say it's potentially, I mean, the governor of Russia's central bank has basically said that they're looking to use crypto for international trade, but would prohibit the use inside the state. But if we were to kind of just zoom out a little bit, the BRICS alliance, right, the BRICS nations, they really are challenging the USD, and are basically becoming an alternative to the dollar, which could have profound effects on the crypto space as well as other markets as well. As most, and if not all at the moment, not all, really most, are kind of settled in USD, right? And we can start to see a shift with how oil is being transacted upon, and how the BRICS alliance are essentially basically just going their own way, and that could grow. That could become even bigger, right? So at the moment, you're talking Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, but maybe more will join. I think it's going to be an interesting development, and obviously that will have a profound effect on the US dollar, which will have then a knock-on effect to the crypto market, the value of Bitcoin. And well, if you do see significant shift in that, then you might see issues with that dollar getting hyperinflation, which then will create ultimately the $1 million Bitcoin. But again, to JB's point, we're not going to want it. Right? You're not going to want it. So it doesn't really matter if Bitcoin goes to $10 million or not. You're not going to want the $1 million or the $10 million in exchange for the Bitcoin. You're going to want to keep the Bitcoin or move over to a different currency that has held up better and fared better. Interesting developments though, JB. Chris, what's your thoughts? Again, I think just lost for words. Just lost for words.
I love it. It's so good.
So good fun. But yeah, Bitcoin did plummet. I'm going to use that word. I might actually just have to use that in some of the thumbnails, just for the use of it. I love the word plummets because you can't use the word crash. You can't use the word dip. You can't use the word drop. This is the thing, like people are getting very emotional. But plummets is a really strong word. I like that one. So yeah, Bitcoin plummets below $30,000 in sudden sell-off. Now, sudden. There's two words here that I'm actually quite liking. First is plummets, and the second word is sudden. I don't think it was sudden. I mean, I was actually talking about it a few days prior. So I wouldn't say it was sudden. We were kind of expecting it. We could see it within the charts. We could see it within the data. Timing it was obviously a little hard. We did actually end up going up before we went down. But, that's pretty typical as well when you're in leverage positions because they do want to make sure they get rid of those short positions before the price actually moves down. The exchanges don't want to be paying out for no particular reason. So short squeeze and then down it went. And I still need to visit those comments on the YouTube channel, JB. And maybe I'll find some time today because I think their comments aged like fine milk. Good times.
There was a few humble pie. So
there definitely was.
Yeah, there was a few asking if we were going to return to eat our humble pie when the market rockets. So I'm hoping those characters shall return to eat the humble pie that the market is starting to pull back.
Ah, man.
I've got one for you here. I've got one for you here.
Go for it.
I've not even passed this by you earlier on. It's more to get your reaction. So you've probably already seen it, but it's the first that's came across me. So we obviously know the talk right now about FTX possibly coming back to surface. The reboot, we'll call it the reboot of FTX. So Tribe Capital have offered $250 million to help reboot FTX. What do you think about that?
Just like Chris, I'm speechless. You know what? Maybe I need to get a Cardboard Chris voice box. That could be interesting.
Yes. Shocking.
We called it. I don't know what else he says.
There's a team. There's a real team coming.
There's a real team. It's a real team. Right. It's FTX. Let's just say, what are they trying to reboot? Is it their name? Is it the branding? Or is it the actual team? Well, I think it's all just yeah.
From what I understand, I genuinely think they are trying to get the exchange back to market. So obviously the FTT token was at 20% or whatever. It bounced after this announcement from Tribe Capital. But is $250 million enough to reboot the actual exchange itself? If it does come back,
didn't they just fine $7 billion down the side of the sofa or something?
Well, yeah, it's ridiculous.
So what was 250 million?
Yeah. So on the side of that, if the exchange comes back to market, what's the right word here? What law, what procedure is in place to, reimburse the investors that lost so much with FTX collapsing? Because obviously you guys done it live on the main channel. You were calling the liquidations that FTX were making when other exchanges, bigger exchanges, were making very few.
Like FTX was like 80% of all liquidations, and you're talking $800 million.
Yeah.
Right. But so what's 250 million if they were liquidating 800 million? Like at the end of the day, I think anybody who would continue to use FTX at that point, after everything that's unfolded, if they relaunch, right, and they go back to market, I think if you go and use FTX at that point, that's all on you. Like, there's, like, you can't blame anyone if something goes wrong a second time, right? You know, fool you once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. At the end of the day, I wouldn't be touching that, and most retail investors should avoid it. And unfortunately, only people who probably haven't been a part of the space and do not know the history are the ones that are probably going to fall for it again. But I just think that regulations and the government should be stepping in to previously it.
I think we do see that quite a lot, though. So obviously, if we take it back a bit further here, the likes of Voyager and Celsius, obviously we've seen FTX as well. These are, I think, more in America as well. These are very big names, so they're new people coming into the space that they're going to look for familiarity, things that are, they're already embezzled in their brain, that they understand. Okay, Voyager, that's a name that I know. FTX, that's a name that I know. Oh, I've seen FTX in the news. I can't remember what the news was about because it was mainstream and it wasn't overly documented, but that's a name I recognise. They're instantly drawn towards these things. So we've seen obviously talks of like sort of Celsius and Voyager and FTX now possibly coming back to market. So the question I would ask you is, if you were with, I'm trying to think of an analogy here, and they're all coming quite bad here. If you're with a girl and she cheated on you, would you go back with her? If you took your car into a garage to get fixed, but you got absolutely conned, would you return back to that garage? The likelihood is no to both of those questions. So why would you go back to an exchange who has drained so many investors of, let's be honest, the hard-earned money? A lot of them are going to be retail investors like you, I, and the next guy. They're not going to be your big players in the space. So yeah, it's worrying to see that this, for one, is even allowed to be spoken about. For them to even think about coming back to market is just absurd. And two, the fact that there's not like an asterisk put next to the name. So if you were to see FTX Exchange, there was an asterisk next that you could click on that asterisk and it'd be like, this was previously done X, Y, and Z. To make even not just the new ones, but everybody aware as to what's happened previously with that exchange.
Yeah. The founder rug pulled everyone. He built in a backdoor, but we're going to just relaunch it. Is that backdoor going to be fixed?
Yeah. The founder rug pulled and is currently being paid off by many US government officials, but we can't say that out live.
You can't. Yeah. I mean, oops. Chris, why did you just say that? So yeah, I guess that's not going to be good news. Like yeah. I think it would be more important to take that $250 million and build a new exchange and do some marketing, because with $250 million, you can do some pretty decent marketing.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Build a pretty decent exchange. So why do you need to do something with FTX? Like, it's got a lot of press, but no one's going to trust that. It's like the same with Terra Luna, right? It's like you got Luna Classic, then you got the new version, right, of Terra Luna. Do you really fancy trusting that? Do you fancy, still going and building over there? And I know, like, Luna Classic to a degree is actually now in the hands of the developers. That's fair play, and all that. But there's trust that's been broken, right? And that's not an easy thing to get back, as you say. If your girl's going to cheat on you, she's out the door. She ain't coming back, and likewise, when, you take a car in and let's say, they rinse your wallet dry, you're not going back to the same garage, right? And so forth. So, yeah, interestingly enough, though, those two things, those two examples. I mean, we also had Celsius as well. You had Celsius, Luna, FTX. There's one common denominator that we saw this week, JB.
Go on.
Mr. Gary Gensler. He's the common denominator. He's the one who's been not really held accountable, at least not yet. I mean, prison time would be more justifiable. But, at least he's had a hard time this week, which is so interesting. I was watching a little bit of it, and I couldn't help but notice that he was either super nervous or his old age is getting to him, because he was doing a lot of Biden shaking, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, I like to think nerves. I don't know his history of health or whatever, but he was fumbling and stuff. Did make me find it quite interesting to kind of see the kind of people who are, at the front of these billion-dollar losses and damages to retail investors. But some of the committee, the questions that they were answering were absolutely fantastic. I love the way that these were. Gary just didn't want to answer yes or no. And reclaiming my time, the answer is yes. I love it. I love all that kind of stuff. What's your thoughts on it, a cheeky JB?
So he's obviously a well-trained politician. He knows how to circle around a question. It was literally asked over and over again, yes or no, answer this question, yes or no. And he could not answer yes or no to, I'd say, 90% of the questions he was asked. Obviously, we've covered it previously. Is Ethereum a security or a commodity? Oh, well, it's both, but it's actually neither. But they're both separate entities. We're going to answer the question here.
It's yes if I can make money by suing people, no if I can't, yes if I can again, and no, it all depends on when and who's involved.
Yeah, but obviously you touched on it, like the way his mannerisms, his body language spoke volumes. It was a man panicking. That he's clawing at a door that's staying closed. He's on his way out. I think they have their idea of how they want the SEC to be run now. As we spoke about previously, with having one at the top and a board working under them. A womble. Yeah, in the chat, a womble, it's class. So yeah, we can see that how they want the SEC now to be ran with the board. I've been trying to look into this after we spoke about it, because they obviously said that you cannot have previously been an SEC chair or high up on the SEC to be part of this board. So what is the contingency to be a member of this board, however it is it's going to work? There's not been really much released about it yet. But back to the live stream of the trial with Gary Gensler, the questions and whatnot, it was an incredibly hard watch. God, I can watch some TV, I can watch some talks with politics, but that was bloody boring. It was a hard watch.
Yeah, I have to say, I do agree. It was entertaining at times, but man, did you have to wait for those entertaining moments.
I mean, Scottish Big Mama down in the cheeky chat, she streamed it for a while. I tried jumping into it, but it was a hard watch. I thought I'll wait for YouTube. There'll be highlights come out, and we'll catch up the highlights. So what else did we see yesterday? Just moving from one womble to another. Mr. Donald Trump has a new NFT collection coming to market. What is he calling it? Yeah, Donald Trump's Series 2 of Trump Digital Trading Card Collection is coming to market, which will have 45,000 unique images of the former US president.
45,000.
Yeah, apparently so. So I think the first batch as well was around about the same number, which one of the things here, it's sorry guys, I just read this and it's actually buckled me a little bit. Donald Trump's actually stated here, they show me that it's comic book art. When you think about it, they show me as art. And I said I always wanted to have a 38-inch waist. So, yeah, it just caught me a little bit there. But one, I don't understand the utility behind a Donald Trump trading card NFT. I honestly don't understand why it's at market. Now there's a second batch.
I can tell you exactly why it's at market.
Well, it's money, yeah.
It is. It is literally to keep the flow of money moving in one direction.
Yeah.
Like there is no other utility there. The utility is to part hardworking individuals, Trump followers and fans, if you will, of their hard-earned money. There's, I mean, I obviously talk knowing zero about the project and just a project. Is that the right word? Not so sure.
But
I know nothing of it.
What I do like to see though is it's actually been done on Polygon. So it's not an ETH, it's not anything like that.
Oh, wow, really cheaped out. Okay.
Yeah.
Which, fair play. Like, if you're going to want volume to be transacted on it, you're not going to want to do that on Ethereum. Not in the, yeah. Oh, geez. Okay, well, that's ruined my day. Cheers for that, JP.
What else did we see yesterday? Pax Dollar. That was quite interesting to see. Pax Dollar took a nice jump. It was actually one of the members down in Discord highlighted it. So Pax USDP, that jumped to, I'm just going to try and pull up the number here.
You made it depegged?
No, it jumped to, where is it? $1.18.
So it depegged.
Yeah, well, yeah, depegged, but it's like for about 15 to 20 minutes, it jumped to $1.18, then, just came back to surface. But I don't know if if they are in here just now, let us know, did you manage to do the short? He was looking at exploring how to short USDP, so that's a very good one if you did jump on that. So, yeah.
Alternatively, you could have used, if there was a trading pair against USDP, was to have gone long on the pair.
Yeah.
That would be an alternative way of shorting. Interesting stuff. I wonder why. Like, was there a huge demand? Did it get listed somewhere?
Absolutely. I've seen no news come off the back. Whenever you click on the links for the news, it comes up no recent news. So I've been trying to look into that one.
It's interesting. Okay, cool. So let's just kind of circle back to Mr. Gensler. Right. He's made some accusations, JB.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
This.
Is this a glass house and stones situation?
I think it's more like he's throwing mud and he's just trying to see what it sticks to. I don't want to use the word mud rather than anything else, but he's throwing stuff and he's going to see what sticks. I think. So this is what we've got, right? We've got OMG Dash Algorand TXN NAGA coin, which is NGC, IHT. And basically what this comes down to is that the SEC are charging Bittrex with failing to register for securities, right? The sale of securities. And they are saying that Bittrex was selling OMG Dash Algorand, TXN, NGC, and IHT, which they were not registered to do so. And obviously, indirectly, what they're essentially saying is that OMG Dash Algorand, etc., are securities. And that obviously is going to affect quite a few people. There is a reasonably big community in Dash and a reasonably big community in Algorand. The other ones, I'm not so certain. I mean, OMG's been around a long time. I imagine there's probably a fair bit of people in that. But I don't know. Are they literally just throwing and seeing what's going to hit?
I think so. Obviously, we know at points Mr. Gensler held a considerable amount of Algorand, and all of a sudden it's now a security, apparently. Whatever it is he's doing here. Yeah, as we touched on it previously, I think he's just doing the J. Clayton effect. He's trying to do something before he's pumped out the door. But come on, what was one of the ones you mentioned there? IHT, which is something I've not even heard of. Real Estate Protocol.
iHouse token.
Is that what that is? IHT's coming up as Real Estate Protocol for me through CoinMarketCap.
It's called iHouse token, according to the article that I'm looking at.
Right. Okay.
Never heard of it. I imagine it has something to do with real estate.
Yeah. But that's what I've got here. IHT Real Estate Protocol. There's going to be something that you could deem a security. It possibly is that. But
I mean, Algorand's the one that stands out.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a big Algorand fan. I do hold Algorand, though. I think the technology is fantastic on Algorand's side. I just think it gets picked up and hyped about too much by people who don't fully understand how markets work. And as such, you end up with a lot of FOMO activity and something just doesn't perform very well. What I'd actually like to see is more marketing from the project side, so that we can actually see some true roadmaps that get spoke about and targets that get hit and accountability and all that kind of stuff. Of course, if we see a lot of that, then of course they can start flipping that there's then an argument that investors in Algorand are looking at the project as a way of returning a yield, and therefore the SEC will go after them as a security. And so it's kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul to a degree. Like, you need marketing, but it needs to be done in the correct way. We can't just go ahead and see, someone like, let's say, Brad Garlinghouse going on mainstream media talking about how XRP is fantastic, because then again you're going to get the attention of the SEC. But there's a balance to be had. I think Charles Hoskinson does it incredibly well with Cardano, the way that he approaches a YouTube channel, talks about the things that they're doing, never talks about price action or anything like that, and essentially is just talking about the things that they're building and the progression that Cardano is making. I think a lot of these other projects could do really well with that, and Algorand may or may not be a security. I haven't really paid terribly too much attention to Algorand. But, that being said, I would highly doubt that Algorand is a security from the idea that the investors are expecting a return based on the performance of Algorand. Because that's just not going to happen. I jest. There's going to be a few percentage points there from speculative investment. But I'm not looking at, the leadership team of Algorand and thinking they're going to be doing a fantastic job, and that's the reason I'm going to be getting a return. There's no contract there that is going to allow me to think of Algorand's team, performance being why I'm going to get a profit. That being said, I obviously want them to do more, which clearly means that they're not doing anything or very little in the space. Dash and OMG are interesting. I can't imagine that Dash would be. OMG, I'm not so sure. I haven't really paid too much attention to that one either. What's your thoughts on it, JB?
Two projects I'm not really over familiar with was obviously IHT and Dash. OMG, I think obviously that's been spoke about a few times. It is actually on my charts here, so I have looked at it at some point. So as for Algorand, now I think the previous bull run, I don't think it done exceptionally well. Maybe like 3,000-4,000% or something. I don't know. I'd have to go in and check. So I think what you're saying there is obviously spot on the money. The team themselves don't self-promote. You don't see enough spoken about them. The publicity for Algorand is poor.
Non-existent.
Yeah, it's very poor. So you go and look at the ones that I think do it well in the space, the likes of your Ripple done it, well, XRP done it before, obviously the lawsuit, they're not doing it now, they can't. But the likes of your AGIX, your SDAO, your ADA, your VeChain, Polygon's Matic, to an extent, I don't think they do enough, but there's enough going out there for them to be in the limelight that the marketing there is better than obviously what it is with Algorand. The Algorand need to really step up and promote. There's no shame in self-promotion. Let's be honest here. Self-promotion.
It's not even like promoting something to try to get a sale. It's just talk about what you're doing.
Yeah, get your name in the market, get your name in folks' heads.
Yeah, and yeah. So I think we need the whole entire space just needs to look at it differently, right? Stop thinking about price action and token prices, and just start talking about the things that you're doing, frequently, not infrequently, but frequently, right? We want to just talk to people.
The physical use case of Algorand, let's talk about that publicly. Let's have that spread so folk actually know what's going on with everything Algorand, what's going on in the development behind the scenes, what project are they undertaking right now that's going to improve the working of Algorand, the capabilities of the project. But I think Chris, you might be best telling us more about that.
Yeah, I think he's having a good think about it. It's been thinking for about 35 minutes on the intro alone. It still hasn't quite gotten over that part yet. But look, Algorand, I'm not convinced security. I think this is just the SEC throwing and seeing what sticks. And some of this might be right. iHouse token sounds like it probably is. Based on kind of what the protocol's trying to do, right? And some of these others may be, but I disagree. I don't think Algorand is. I don't think Dash is. OMG, I'm not 100% on, but I don't think would be either. I think this is literally just we're just going to attack, and maybe these people will settle to stop us going to court.
Yeah.
I think it's just a money grab, as Gary has been seen to be doing quite a bit of, or not just Gary. I mean, let's to be fair, it's pretty much just the SEC all over. Like Chris has often said, isn't it, Chris? You often say that you want to kind of take on the role of head of SEC, or maybe even director if that's the role that's going up. Is that still on your radar, on your roadmap, Chris, of things you want to do?
I think he's still thinking about it.
Still thinking about it. He hasn't got his call yet, I don't think.
What have we got in the chat here? Nice to see Chris has perked up a bit today. He seemed a bit down recently. Chris has not even blinked once. Did Chris finish thinking yet?
Oh, I love it. So let us know what you think. Do you think Algorand Dash OMG are securities? I personally am not so convinced. But of course, Gary's inability to defend himself correctly, or by saying too much without saying anything at all, in the sense of, it's quite clear you have absolutely no idea what you're doing, and you really have fucked up as your role of chairman of the SEC. The Ripple lawyers are incredibly confident that XRP are going to be victorious. and based on the performance of Gary, and if he is leading by example, it does only demonstrate to me, anyway, why the lawyers in the Ripple versus SEC lawsuit did balls up so many times for filing all the paperwork for the SEC, because if that's your leadership, I mean, you've got no hope.
It's worrying. I do totally agree with what you're saying. It's worrying that if, that's what the case was. But the positive side to what's going on here is I think it's teeing up Ripple for a win. They are getting rid of, they're getting rid of Gensler before the Ripple case comes to obviously a bit more public knowledge that what the outcome is going to be. Excuse me, sorry. To see that, I'm trying to articulate this in the nicest, best way possible. For Gensler to be going before the case is settled, it's very telling to me.
Scapegoat, is that the word that you're looking for?
Yeah, it's given us indication that there's probably going to be a Ripple win here, I think.
Do we think it's going to be labelled up as the SEC only lost because of Gary Gensler?
Yes, he's 100% going to be used as a scapegoat of this. I do believe that. I don't ever
paid off though, right? Because that's what that'll be.
Yeah, I mean, let's crack it down here. Gensler took this on. Regardless of what he said about this whole thing, let's obviously forget about everything there. The Gensler took this on. It was not Gensler that initiated it. It was Mr. Clayton. Gensler has absolutely ballsed it up and made an arse of everything that's going on with the whole case. But I think with them talking now, obviously Gensler on the way, that it's teeing Ripple up for a nice win here. I'd like to see them win. I think it, let's be honest here. I think it might have two effects on the space. That you'll see a lot more projects trying to get away with things that they shouldn't be getting away with because they're trying to test the limit of where they can get to with the SEC. But off the back of it, I think you'll obviously see a push in the market that, not all cryptos are a security. That the SEC have got this one wrong. That, the fundamental strength behind it, the project, something's caught my eye in the chat, I'll come back to it. Something, the fundamental use behind obviously Ripple, being to understand it, it's good for the world, for the monetary side of the world. It's a good thing. So I'd like to see them win. I want to see them win, and I'd like to see it happen soon.
Go on then. Is that a Liverpool shirt?
It is a signed Liverpool shirt from the Champions League. Was it the Champions League? No, it's not. It's in the badge at the bottom there. It was the Premier League, World Club Cup, and the UEFA Super Cup win on season 1920. That is a
that is actually amazing. Do you want to see mine?
Let's see.
It's beautiful, right? You see it?
Oh wow, that's absolutely sensational.
I don't follow sport. I don't need to buy a shirt, put it into a frame, put it on a wall. Liverpool. To be fair, I don't know if that's good or bad.
That's the one thing I've always debated about, was whether I was going to leave it up on the wall or not, because I don't want folk to be swayed. Oh, he's got the Liverpool shirt. I'm not interested in watching that or listening to it. So let me know if you need me to take it down. I'll happily take it down. My room's getting this is getting rebuilt anyway, so it'll be fine.
Oh dear.
I've got a few ideas.
I might just put a frame, just a frame. Call it art. There you go, up in the Tate Modern, it'd be fine. Sell it for millions. I once was in the Tate Modern, actually, just completely shifting subject here. Chris, just bear with me. Right. I was in the Tate Modern, there was a mirror on the wall, and I was debating for ages, is it art or is it just a mirror? And I, to this day, can't confirm or deny. And also, there was an air conditioning unit on the wall. Couldn't know whether that was actually just an AC unit or if it was supposed to be art. Like, you can just walk around and everything in that place, it could be perceptionally a piece of garbage art. Who knows? Like, there was a bed that was made up in there when I went, and apparently that was also an art piece, and I wasn't to go and lay in it and fall asleep. So yeah, I might just frame it and frame my wall behind me, put a price tag on it. Someone actually did this in New York, didn't they? They sold nothing. They just framed nothing, and they sold it for millions.
Yeah,
well,
clever, very clever. I like the analogy behind the mirror, the artwork of the mirror, because it's each individual who walks up to the mirror is the piece of art.
Okay, let's change subject because you're entering a world I just know nothing of.
Right, okay. So one thing that has literally just flagged up. Apologies, had to clear my throat. One thing that has just flagged up on my news desktop there was the thing we were talking about last night when we were streaming. The dormant Bitcoin wallet.
The fact that Chris was down again. No.
Yeah. So
always attack the one who's not here to defend themselves, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. the dormant Bitcoin wallet that woke up after 9.3 years.
Yeah. 6,500 Bitcoin, right?
6,071 Bitcoin to be exact.
Yeah.
So this dormant Bitcoin wallet has seriously woken up now and has transferred 2,071.5 Bitcoin out of that wallet today.
Wow. I mean, fair play, right? Let's hypothetically say you knew you had a Bitcoin wallet. You just couldn't remember where you put it. And for years, you've been like, I must find this laptop. I know it's somewhere. I'm going to check the garage. I'm going to go check, the attic space or the basement or whatever. And you've been searching for years. And, it's like the pain of your life. You know in your soul that you've got like thousands of Bitcoin, and you've seen Bitcoin go to 20,000, then down to 3,000. You've seen it go up to 65, then down to 20, and then back up to 69. Then right now you're seeing 30k Bitcoin. Like, where is this goddamn hard drive? And then out of nowhere you find it. I mean, I would probably be taking this exact same approach, right? I've just suddenly got access to 6,000 Bitcoin. I'm like, okay, what's a meaningful amount that I can take right now while still having a substantial amount of Bitcoin for later? I would probably be looking at 2,000 Bitcoin, liquidate that, get myself sorted, get everything financially stable for the family, and then ride out for the next 4,000 Bitcoin.
You absolutely nailed out my thought process there. $60 million is enough to clear everything for the family, pay off mortgages, set the family for life, set up trust funds for obviously nieces and nephews. Everything would be set for life there for them, for myself, for my wife, from my wife's side of the family. 60 million, easily nail that off the park. So yeah, it'd be the exact same process. Take out 2,000, leave that 4,000 there. Wait till Bitcoin goes to $10 million, then you're probably the richest guy in the world.
I mean, that's going to be MicroStrategy, right? But they aren't going to want the dollars.
An insane amount of Bitcoin they're now holding.
Yeah.
But again, that's just another thing. If that's not screaming bullish that you've got so much going to MicroStrategy, I think obviously it's really good for the space. Now, Ronan is asking us, is this Chris or is this a photo of Chris? Chris?
Yeah. Chris, do you want to elaborate a little?
Useless.
Cool.
Absolutely.
I think he's muted.
Yeah, Chris had to step out for today. I think he's got a little trip, so he'll be back later.
No, I think he's had to cancel the trip. There is some family stuff going on. I think he has to sort out. But he'll be back later. All being well. So yes,
One last thing I think we might touch on before we
Yeah.
go. Coinbase. So we're seeing talks that Coinbase are potentially looking to leave the United States. There was talks of them coming to the UK. They are now possibly not coming to the UK. There's a lot going on here. I think it's worth everybody having a little look at this. Obviously, we know a lot of the viewers, the audience, do use Coinbase. So obviously, we know why they want to leave the US, everything that's going on there. The reason they're now not considering the UK is the banks. So obviously, banks blocking the fiat onboarding onto the exchanges. I think that's easily sorted. I don't think it's an issue. Now, obviously, we've touched on it before, how the City of London will be the hub for crypto. I totally believe that as well. So for the likes of Coinbase, let's just look at them, what they are. They're a major player in the space in terms of exchanges. For them to come over to the UK, I think, obviously, it's terrific, and I think that the UK should be doing more to draw in everybody to the UK, to the City of London, to obviously make it the hub. We want to see this happen.
Yeah, I think Coinbase and many others, from the US are getting so frustrated they are just going to leave.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we got the live chat. Ronan was thinking of moving to France, but everyone was on strike, so it didn't happen. Coinbase is already offshore. I think what we're going to see is you're going to see them just distancing themselves from the US to a point where they're not going to be targets. And I think Coinbase is actually, and to kind of that Gary Gensler thing again from Tuesday. It was Tuesday, wasn't it?
Yeah, Tuesday. Yeah.
Was the pre-IPO documents, right? They would have seen it all, and they approved Coinbase to go public. Yet Coinbase was trading things, and still is to this point, things like Algorand, right? And if Algorand is a security, and there's always been a security in the eyes of the SEC, then they should never have approved the IPO for Coinbase, right? So Gary Gensler is just absolutely on one and is just talking absolute BS, and is just playing out someone's bidding because he's just a puppet at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting stuff. So Coinbase will distance themselves, and many others will as well. I'd like to see them over in the UK because the UK is hellbent on becoming a hub, whilst at the same time making it very difficult to be a hub.
What else would be a good thing about Coinbase being in the UK? It'd be easier to get an interview with Mr. Armstrong.
Yeah.
I would like to see that.
Yeah. That would be interesting.
What are they saying up in the chat here? Tony, back to the lives. Let's FG. Definitely. So I think the plan here with the lives will be Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Obviously, 9 o'clock UK. I think the last one worked really well. I walked away from it very happy. I was a bit ominous about this one because we kind of think very similarly, and we sometimes think differently to Nick. To Chris, sorry.
Chris,
so I don't know how this one was going to go, but I think this one's worked out quite well.
Just poke fun at Chris when he's not here. It's great. I was going to go one step further. I decided not to.
Were you going to Photoshop Chris's face?
I was going to put some clown makeup on.
That would have been so good.
I didn't, obviously, but if he decides that he wants another day off, then maybe I'll have to. We'll never know. Obviously, these are all insider jokes. It's all good fun. Yeah, it's all good.
Chris is just being cheeky today, indeed.
He is just being cheeky today. Gary took the punch on the chin yesterday, agree that he is just a puppet. Yeah, he's a puppet. He's being paid to do these things. It doesn't have to be as aggressive as he is being on crypto. And that was quite clear during that hearing as well, with the number of enforcement actions versus the previous, or his predecessors, I should say.
Yeah.
It's very clear that there's an agenda here to be as aggressive as he is. But yeah, it is what it is for now, and we shall see how everything unfolds and how the chips may fall, JB.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously this might be drawn out a little longer than anticipated. I don't think it's just going to be done. Gary's gone, and this is what's happening now. The whole situation there, it's a mess. But you know,
that's to put it mildly. All right, I think we're going to wrap it up there for today. We'll be back on Saturday for another live stream on here. But we have got a video lined up on the Cheeky Crypto channel to talk about Bitcoin's recent movements, what I think is likely to happen next. It goes live in 8 minutes. As I finish this stream off, you should all be automatically taken over to that video, and I do encourage you guys to watch it and let us know what you think of Bitcoin's structure. Do you think what we're plotting out is the correct thing? Let us know over there. And in fact, we'll be a premiere, so we'll be over there in a moment as well. So until the next live stream, guys, have a fantastic week, and we'll see you all soon.
Thanks, guys.